Good evening. Hope this video finds you well. It finds me injured, as you may guess from the title. So I have a hip injury on my left side. The cause leading up to it has been a number of things. Mostly, I'm going to say it's probably mostly to do with life and running trying to happen at the same time. And collectively, it was all too much. And something had to give, and it was my hip that gave. So that's kind of where I find myself. It's been a number of months kind of leading up to this point. My my body wasn't really doing so great over the past few months. I kind of felt like something was off. I wasn't really handling it too well, and so I had all these life stressors, and then I had my running stress as well. And somewhere along the line, it was too much, and eventually something had to give, and it was my hip. But the funny thing was, like, when it first started, I thought it was my knee because that's where I was having pain. But eventually, I realized that it wasn't actually my knee at all. My knee was actually quite fine. It was my hip, specifically. I think it was my hip flexor on the left side that was having issues and having trouble and was not doing well, and that was leading to other issues elsewhere in my kinetic chain. So that's where I was, and that's kind of how I got there. And basically, is a case of not balancing my life. The end result of that was the injury. But it reminded me of a verse from Ecclesiastes chapter 3, and it talks about, in that chapter, in the first 8 verses, it talks about this idea of making sure that we understand that there's a time for everything. And in this case, for me, I wasn't honoring the time that I needed to rest and recover, because life was tearing me down, and my running wasn't, was kind of piling on top of that, and eventually it just became too much, and something gave out. But I want to read you this passage because I think it's really important. There's a lot of wisdom here that can be gained. And so it's Ecclesiastes chapter 3. I'm going to read verses 1 to 3, but it goes on for 8 verses. For everything there is a season, and a time for every matter under heaven, a time to be born and a time to die, a time to plant and a time to pluck up what is planted, a time to kill and a time to heal, a time to break down and a time to build up. And it carries on for 5 more verses talking about these two different opposites, and why we need to there's a time for different things in our lives. And I think it's very important that we give those things the time that they are due. And to the extent that we don't, we're going to find ourselves with a life that's out of balance. And if we exist long enough in that out of balance state, eventually, I believe something's going to break. So, and that's the way I see it. That's what happened to me. So that's how I got here into this state where I now have a hip that needs healing. And now I just want to kind of just dive in kind of real quick as to what I'm doing now to help facilitate that healing process. Because it's something I don't want to keep on dealing with this for months and months and months and months on end, or maybe even years if it gets to be that point. And so over the last month or so, I've really just been trying to take the healing process a lot more seriously. And it's been working out pretty well, I think, for me. I felt a lot better over the last few weeks, and I think finally something's starting to show signs of improvement, show signs of coming back together and healing up and being made whole again. So yesterday, I went for the first run that I've gone on in 2 weeks, and it was very short, very, 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 very low intensity. I just did one lap around a park down the street, and in addition to also just I walked for about half an hour, and inside of that half-hour walk, I did one loop around the park. It's a very low intensity. I'll call it a jog. That was a jog. I know sometimes runners, man, we say like we're not joggers, we're runners, but right, this was a jog, right, legitimate jog. So I did one jog around the park because over the past couple of weeks, all this work that I've been doing, working on myself, working on getting myself healed, working on fixing issues that I've had, it felt like the appropriate time to put that in there. And I think it was the right call. I was able to run the whole loop, no pain, and no sign of anything like form breaking down or anything like that. So I'm glad I did it. But I'm also, more importantly, I'm glad that I've taken the time over the past few weeks to just really focus on making sure that I'm giving my body the resources and the time that it needs to help heal. And it's going to be an ongoing process. It's not just because I did one run, oh, sweet, I'm better. It's not like that. And this is going to take time. But I'm glad to have gotten to this point where I can, take a few steps and, run a few steps, and it's not instant pain. So, a number of things that I'm doing to help facilitate. Number one, I stopped running, a number of weeks ago because every time I went running, it would cause me pain. So I stopped running. Second, I started walking, like a lot of walking, way more walking than I ever do or ever have done in the past. It's anywhere between 30 minutes to an hour on the daily, except in exceptionally bad weather, which has been, I think, like 2 days. If it's just been really, really, really nasty weather, or I just been, all right, you know what, today I walk around the house and I do like laps up and down the stairs or something like that. And that's worked out pretty well. I've been making sure that my strength training has been really consistent. Specifically, work with single leg type exercises or single side type exercises. So that's things like pistol squats, weighted lunges, anything having to do with core stability or in weighted core stability, that sort of thing. I'll do been doing, I'm not sure what they're called. It's like a farmer carry, but only on one side, or you only have a weight on just one side. Calf raises, like single leg calf raises with weight, other sort of stuff. And I guess those types of exercises, in addition to also doing quite a bit of heavy lifting, or as heavy as I can get. I don't actually have that many weights. I really need to get some more because the amounts that I have are they're not really enough. The most I have right now, I think, is, I don't know, it's like 105 pounds. And I want to do some more heavy type stuff, heavier squats, heavier deadlifts, specifically heavier deadlifts, and some heavier pressing as well. But it's all I got right now, so I'm trying to make the most of it. And it's fine for single leg type stuff, but when I get into full leg stuff like deadlifts and squats, it's just not enough really to have much of an effect. So those are those strength training exercises, walking, and sleep. My sleep wasn't really all that bad beforehand, but I was like, I've been missing things here and there, having a fairly, most nights have been pretty good, but every 3 to 4 nights I had a bad night's sleep, and it's like, it's not that great. Like we can do a little better than this, right? 2 or 3 nights a week, I'm having a bad night of sleep. I'm like, we can do better than this for sure. So I've been focusing on trying to get some better sleep, and that's been helping as well, I believe. And then the rest is just being really, really patient, and that's the hardest part. And just not rushing back, especially when I'm starting to feel good. Like yesterday, when I was feeling really good, I'm like, all I want to do is just do lap after lap after lap. But like, I know that I'm not there yet. I can't, and if I rush it, I'll be right back to square one. So, an exercise of patience and smart strength training and moving what I can instead of just focusing on what I can't do. So that's what I've been doing to heal up this hip injury, and I'm pleased to say that it seems to be working, and I'm really hopeful for what's coming in the future weeks and months. So I have one specific goal in mind. So I did join the Run 169 Society for Connecticut. It's headed by a fellow named Adam Osmond. He's got a YouTube channel. I'll leave you a link below. He's got a kind of cool thing. But his thing is this whole group. The idea is you run one race in every single town inside the state of Connecticut, and there's 169 of them. It's a lot. And if you do, I don't know, it's bragging rights or something like that. It's kind of just it's like a personal challenge, you know, one thing you can kind of like work towards, and it takes some time. I've done 2, so got a long way to go. But anyways, in the month of March, there's a thing they're gonna have. It's you run 1.69 miles in whatever town you are in, and they post it on the website, and you get to see like, all right, did we get all the towns? Every town get its 1.69 miles, and it's kind of a fun thing, you know. And so I'm hoping that by March I'll be able to run, you know, this 1.69 miles and, you know, log my time and participate in that. I think that's a fun goal that I'm working towards, and I think I have enough time to get there with reasonable amount of reasonably expect that to be, you know, reality within about a month, 5 weeks or so. So I'm hopeful, and that's something to look forward to. Anyways, that's all I got. Hope you don't mind me rambling so much. And if you got anything out of this, I'm glad you did. If you learned anything about injury healing, life in general, life and running, I'm glad you did. So, well, that's all for me today. I'm getting out of here. Carry on, outsiders.